Recordings are entered by members of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences and by record media companies. Entries are then voted on solely by the Academy's 12,000 voting members, those who are creatively involved in the recording.
This is KHQA's Late News.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for KHQA's Late News. I'm Raja Maples. Illinois lawmakers don't seem interested in helping just one or two companies in the state after Tuesday's defeat in Springfield of a tax break package for the CME Group and Sears. Lawmakers started talking about rolling back January's corporate income tax increase or rewriting Illinois' tax code. Republican Jill Tracy says it's not just big businesses near Chicago that the state has to worry about losing.
We have West Quincy, Illinois, near Adams County, right across the bridge, that really doesn't have many living residents. It's just businesses that sell cigarettes, have gas stations, you know, all those kind of commodities that are less expensive through this tax structure in Missouri. They exist across the bridge in Illinois, in Missouri, from Quincy, Illinois. No residents, just businesses feeding off of Illinois dollars.
Now, Tracy said if Illinois is going to hand out breaks to big businesses, it needs to do the same for all businesses. Lawmakers left the Capitol Tuesday night after a plan to cut CME and Sears tax bills received only 8 votes. Both companies have threatened to leave if the state does not provide them with some help. Well, U.S. Senator Dick Durbin launched this interactive map on his website today. It enables Illinois families to find out how much the Middle Class Tax Cut Act of 2011 will save them in taxes next year. Durbin says the legislation will extend President Obama's middle class tax cut, preventing an increase on millions of hardworking Illinois residents, and expand the cut in 2012 to put more money back in the pockets of American families. The Senate plans to vote on the measure later this week. U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill from Missouri has a proposed legislation aimed at congressional earmarks. Democrat McCaskill and Senator Pat Toomey, a Republican from Pennsylvania, introduced legislation earlier today. It would ban congressionally directed spending items and limit tax or tariff benefits. McCaskill says the legislation is needed because some members of Congress try to work around existing restrictions.
This legislation will go a long way towards changing that culture, changing the quid pro quo of the earmark world, and get us back to a merit-based process where every dime we spend of taxpayer money is spent competitively and based on merit, not on how powerful you are, who you know, or how long you've been here.
Now, 1 year ago, McCaskill and Toomey teamed up in support of a temporary ban on congressional earmarks, but they hope this new initiative will permanently change the way Washington works. We'll have more news for you in just a moment, but first, let's get a check of tonight's first forecast with Landon. Landon, are we pretty much done with warm temperatures here in the tri-states?
I was just getting ready to say we pretty well have made it to the late November standard that we have grown accustomed to seeing around these parts, at least for this point in time. As we head into the first week of December, we are going to stay pretty chilly. Right now, we'll take a look at our Right Sleep Center weather camera. That's a view into Midtown Quincy. Again, you can see looking out toward 36th and Broadway. And as far as temperatures go in the next 24 hours, again, you can see pretty chilly weather continuing to arrive, 29 degrees by the time we head towards 7 o'clock tomorrow. So much like the last couple of nights, some patchy areas of frost certainly possible and even probable really at this point in time. Again, by midday tomorrow, we're at 44 degrees. We pretty much stay in the upper 40s by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, falling only to 38 by 10 tomorrow night. Again, lots of sun tomorrow. Light south winds too at 5 to 10. It's just that, again, we're inching closer and closer to the actual winter months here, so that's why it doesn't really warm up too much more than this. We'll have the rest of your forecast details and bring you a rainy Saturday forecast. That's coming up in just a bit.
The U.S. Department of Education is investigating complaints the Hannibal School District allows a racially hostile environment in its middle and high schools. The district and the Hannibal chapter of the NAACP were notified last week. The Hannibal Courier-Post reported that the inquiry stems from an off-campus racially charged fight that police responded to earlier this fall. Hannibal NAACP President Annie Dixon said that 2 black teenagers were taken into custody. She says the black students feel that no action is taken when they report problems. She says the students are trying to defend themselves. Superintendent Jill Jane says she welcomes the investigation, and she says the district does not tolerate racial harassment and that problems will be addressed if students report them. A Hannibal man faces charges for tampering and receiving stolen property as a result of an investigation into the thefts of several ATVs. Officers arrested this man, 48-year-old Stephen Watkins, after finding several stolen chainsaws and a motorcycle at the home. They also searched a home in the 1200 block of Park Avenue and found more stolen chainsaws and a stolen ATV. Watkins has been placed on a 24-hour hold in the Marion County Jail. Quincy area residents had a chance to see what the future holds for the Quincy Park District. It held an open house this evening to get public input about its new comprehensive plan. It includes improvements to Wavering Aquatic Center and Cedar Creek Linear Park.
The main thing that we want to do as a park board right now, our main focus is really to take care of what we've got. We're not interested in building new parks or building, tremendous new facilities. We want to take care of what we have.
Comments will be shared with the Quincy Park Board of Commissioners before it votes on the plan December 14th. If you did not get to see the plan, you can find it at www.quincyparkdistrict.com. Well, it was a not-so-sleepy time story time at the Quincy Public Library tonight. Area children put on their PJs for a night of imagination and reading. A sleepy time story time takes place every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the Children's Library Puppet Room. The story time is designed to help families wind down and relax. Tonight, families also had a chance to help light the library's holiday decorations and tree for the first time this year. Well, check this out. If you happen to have logged onto Google today, you probably saw this image of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn painting a fence just as they do as part of National Tom Sawyer Days in Hannibal. Well, today is Mark Twain's birthday. He was born on this day in 1835. Google decided to honor the author by including his works in today's Google Doodle. Well, ground was broken Wednesday for a $1 million restaurant in Bowling Green. Steve Shaw and Randy Ferris are opening that Saints Avenue Cafe just west of McDonald's near the Highway 61 and Business 61 intersection. They hope to have it finished and open by the middle of next March. Shaw and Ferris say they plan to have both a buffet and a full-service menu. The restaurant will be open 7 days a week.
Been wanting to be here in Bowling Green for about the last year and a half, and so we're excited that things are finally taking place and we're getting ready to start this exciting project.
Shaw and Ferris already have restaurants in Hannibal and Canton. They plan to open 2 more in Mount Pleasant, Iowa and Macon, Missouri. Well, if you pick up the popular magazine Guns and Ammo, you'll see a tri-state connection on the cover. 2 pistols designed by Richard Heine of Heine Specialty Products in Quincy are featured in this month's publication. One of them is the Lady Hawk pistol you see, designed by Heine to address a growing demand for women's handguns.
There's a lot of women shooters, a lot of women buying pistols now, and their hands are smaller. So I figured out a way to take material out of the front and the back and slim the grip down so, people with smaller hands would fit better.
Heine has stopped making custom pistols but is passing on his trade to machining students. He told his designs to the gun manufacturer Nighthawk, which you can find on store shelves. Federal agents shut down a tunnel between the U.S. and Mexico used to smuggle marijuana into the United States. We'll tell you how they did it and the street value of the drugs they found when we come back.
You're watching KHQA's Late News with Raja Maples. Chief Meteorologist Landon Mitchell with your 7-storm team forecast. And Chris Dewar with sports.
Federal agents have uncovered an elaborate underground tunnel they say was being used to smuggle drugs from Mexico to the U.S. CBS's Manuel Gallegos reports from New York.
It's being called the most elaborate and sophisticated drug tunnel ever discovered along the U.S.-Mexico border. A 600-yard passageway linking warehouses in Tijuana and San Diego.
Well, it goes all the way back to TJ.
It's equipped with lighting and ventilation, a hydraulic lift, and electric rail cars.
All considered a highly efficient mechanism to move narcotics in an underground environment.
76, 77.
Authorities recovered a total of 32 tons of marijuana. On the street, that's worth about $53.5 million. It's one of the largest pot busts in U.S. history.
All of these are full of marijuana.
Half of that haul was found right in the San Diego warehouse, packed in boxes.
Some of them had markings indicative of a produce-type business.
The investigation began over the summer when agents believed the tunnel was still under construction.
We were able to shut this tunnel down as soon as it became operational.
Increased border security has forced drug cartels to come up with other ways to move their illegal merchandise.
If they can't cross the border above ground, they attempt to tunnel underneath it.
U.S. officials say the message to the cartels is clear.
If you build it, we'll find it. And when we find it, we'll destroy it.
Prosecutors say the real work begins now as they link the tunnel to a drug organization and move to dismantle it. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News.
So far, 6 people face charges in connection with that operation. Although we don't hear much about these days, the effects of that massive tsunami and nuclear plant fire in Japan are still being felt. Food safety has quickly become one of the biggest concerns of Japanese citizens. Even though the government says the food is safe, some people are not taking any chances.
Suburban housewife Toshiko Yasuda lives 170 miles away from the nuclear plant. But worried about radiation, she buys little at the grocery store nowadays. She says radiation-contaminated beef has turned up on the market. Broccoli, spinach, and shiitake too, all discovered after they were already on sale. So I don't trust the government anymore. Yasuda worries that even trace radiation might hurt her 8-year-old daughter, Aini. Nowadays, she obsesses over meal preparation, with most ingredients purchased online. She tells me she buys eggs and other fresh food from suppliers in distant southern Japan, as far away as the U.S. For fishermen and farmers across eastern Japan, the public fear of radiation has done more damage to their livelihoods than the actual radioactive fallout itself. This is the port of Hitachi-Naka, about 100 miles south of the crippled nuclear power plant. About once a week, the fish here is tested for radiation. So far, they've passed with flying colors. The fishermen here insist that their flounder, octopus, and shrimp are safe to eat. And yet, customers at the neighborhood fish market are down by half since the nuclear accident. If consumers are misled by harmful rumors, this fish merchant says, none of us will be able to make a living. The government argues that food fears are overblown. It says hundreds of food samples are tested daily for radiation and few exceed government standards for radioactive cesium. With a shortage of radiation testing devices, it's not possible to screen every catch from every boat. While the risk may be small, Yasuda says she's not taking any chances with her child. She says, maybe low-level radiation exposure won't give my child cancer, but 5 years down the road, if she did end up sick, I would be overwhelmed by regret about why I wasn't more careful. With low-level but widespread contamination of their soil and water, Japanese could face years of uncertainty about what's safe to put on the table. Lucy Kraft, CBS News, Yokohama, Japan.
And an interesting weather setup across the lower 48. You know, we've had some areas of low pressure, one across New England and also one out to the west of us. Look at this extensive area of clouds. You know, this really takes up a lot of space here. We're going from Wisconsin back into Minnesota, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa. That's where some of the thickest of the cloud cover is. And as a result, we've had some areas of rain and even some snow with the chillier air up to the far north. Meanwhile, down toward the south, it's been pretty much a clear weather setup. And again, we'll continue to see lots of sunshine even around here as we head through the next couple of days. Right now, again, temperatures have really started to fall off a little bit. We were in the mid to upper 40s earlier today. A lot of us have dropped back through the 30s as we've headed throughout the evening hours tonight. Again, a little bit of light rain passing through parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. The rain up toward the north, again, has been pretty light for the most part. A couple pretty good downpours just west of Minneapolis, St. Paul earlier today. Meanwhile, up toward the north of there, it's been all light to moderate snow, accumulating to a couple of inches in some cases, right around the Twin Cities, but also back out toward the northeast into parts of Wisconsin. But again, if you go south into Iowa, notice how dry the weather pattern is here by and large. Again, we've seen just a couple of sprinkles and showers through the Quad Cities and then west to Des Moines earlier today. So Bismarck, North Dakota, up into parts of Nebraska as well. Little bits of light snow, but again, not much to write home about. As far as we're concerned here in the days to follow, we're going to have increasing cloud cover again, but not really until we head towards Friday night. So a couple of things to watch. One will be a big area of snow across Iowa and Illinois as we head throughout the next couple of days. But the storm that we're going to follow is going to be this storm that comes up out of the southwest and brings a big area of rain and clouds through Kansas and western Missouri, really as we head towards late in the week. But by the time we head towards Saturday, that's where we get in on the action. And it's kind of interesting the way this will come together. Southwest Iowa and northwest Missouri will begin to fill in even as we head throughout late Friday afternoon and through the evening hours beyond this actual time period that the computer model shows you. But by Friday night and Saturday, that's where we'll start to fill in with the rain. So at this point in time, some folks could actually pick up some appreciable amounts of rain, maybe half an inch to an inch. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But a couple of days out, it looks pretty promising as far as a decent shot of rain. And it's going to be a chilly rain, as we'll show you here on the temperatures in just a moment. Speaking of temperatures tonight, kind of chilly again, just like last night. So middle to upper 20s tonight. A lot of us, especially in the far north, were cooler, where we were all the way back into the upper teens in some cases. So not quite that chilly, but certainly chilly enough for a big area of frost to form. South winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. If we could get the winds a little higher than that, that would prevent the frost from forming, but it doesn't look as though that's going to be the case. So upper 40s tomorrow again, scraping the frost off your windows early. Make sure you have the coat with you. South winds again even throughout the afternoon, 5 to 10 miles an hour. So hence the 48-degree temperatures. It's hard to get those 65-degree plus temps in here at this point in time like we had on Thanksgiving Day and the day after. Check out Friday's high of 42 degrees. That's a little cooler. So again, we start to fall back again with the next area of clouds and rain arriving by late Friday night and throughout Saturday especially. So it's going to be close, but this will be a chilly rain for us, possibly mixing with and changing over to some light snow Saturday night and early Sunday. And at this point in time, I would not expect a big accumulation from this, not a big event at all. 39 for a high on Sunday afternoon, 35 on Monday. So the cool air is here to stay a while this time. We'll have more for you coming up.
You're watching KHQA's Late News.
Millions of parents give their children fruit juices, but there are new concerns about what's in them. Monroe Guygas reports on an investigation with troubling results for this KHQA Safe Family Health Report.
Consumer Reports tested 88 samples of apple and grape juice and found both arsenic and lead.
We think that's especially important for children whose young, small bodies are growing and who are much more vulnerable to those exposures based on the frequency of how much they consume juice.
10% of the juice samples had arsenic levels above what's allowed in drinking water, specifically a type called inorganic arsenic, which raises the risk of cancer. And 25% of the juice samples had more lead than what's allowed in bottled water. Consumers find it jarring.
What do you think about lead and arsenic in these juices?
Well, that's not a very good thing. I would not be happy about that, and I wouldn't purchase it any longer.
That's crazy. I mean, I would never have guessed that arsenic or anything would be in there, and definitely don't want to be drinking that, obviously.
The government has rules about arsenic and lead in drinking water, but for now, those limits don't apply to fruit juices. The Food and Drug Administration says it's confident in the overall safety of apple juice. But since some samples do contain higher levels of arsenic, the FDA says it's expanding surveillance activities to help determine if a guidance level can be established.
We think the FDA should move swiftly to put guidance in place followed by standards for arsenic and lead in juices.
For now, Consumer Reports is recommending parents avoid giving juice to babies under 6 months and says children under 6 years old should drink no more than a few ounces per day. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, New York.
Well, the world's best-selling prescription drug is going generic today. Randall Pinkston explains what that means for you, the consumer.
Turn your arm over like this.
Since her heart attack 4 months ago, 83-year-old Audrey Saltzman has been taking Lipitor. With insurance, it costs her about $40 a month.
I still pay quite a bit with it.
Now Lipitor is going generic, which means Saltzman and 3 million other Lipitor users in the U.S. won't have to spend as much money for the world's best-selling cholesterol-lowering pill. Atorvastatin is the generic name for Lipitor, and doctors say patients don't need to worry. The active ingredient is the same.
People tend to be afraid that by choosing a generic, they're somehow getting an inferior medication, and it's really just not the case.
Lipitor brings in $11 billion a year for Pfizer. In an effort to hang on to some of the profits, Pfizer is offering deep discounts and incentives to patients and insurance companies, making Lipitor as cheap or cheaper than the generic.
Pfizer is also offering insured patients a discount card to get Lipitor for just $4 a month. That's way less than the average copay for a typical generic drug.
Oh, really?
Either way, Saltzman is glad she has cheaper options now.
I'm on fixed income, and I imagine I'll be taking it for the rest of my life.
And what matters most is that the drug helps her heart stay healthy. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, New York.
Well, so early in the year, it's a fool's errand to throw out terms like best basketball team in the region, but I'm just the fool to try and do it. And for my money, the best boys basketball team in the Tri-States is skippered by a former Culver Stockton assistant, boasts 4 returning starters, a 6'8" center, and one of the best point guards in any class in the state among them, and it found itself in taking out powerhouse Cardinal Ritter last year to book passage to Mizzou Arena.
We're to be reckoned with, you know. You can't just mess around with Elsberry. Last year we were the hunters. We were hunting down everybody, and this year we're the hunted. But we talk about taking one game at a time and not overlooking an opponent at all, and just you have to give everybody your best shot.
Expectations are understandably through the roof at Elsberry this season, with 4 returning starters back from a Final Four squad. And while the Indians do lose their 6'9" center from a year ago, Ryan Parker won't lack for guys who stand tall, both literally and figuratively.
We got Matt Lozen back in the center. He went 15 for 18 in front of field at state tournament last year. But we also add a 6'6" freshman who played for the St. Louis Eagles all summer that will get into the mix. And so we add height. We lose height, the 6'9" kid from last year. But our head and our tail are Scott Krager and Matt Losing, and that's what we go through every night.
Talk to me a little bit about Scott. I mean, obviously special talent, as anybody saw in basketball last year, football the last couple of years. Speed, shooting ability, the ability to he has it all, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a 2-time All-State point guard for me. Started for me as a freshman. Been through the growing pains for 3 years now. But he's a special kid that makes us go, and he makes everybody around him even better.
Schedule's tough right out of the gate. You're kind of going to find out where you're at pretty quick. Right?
Yeah, that's what we wanted. You know, if you're going to have to face the Ritters later in the year, if you make it that far, you got to be able to play some teams early on, and you got to be battle tested. And people question the schedule. St. Dominic on Tuesday and Columbia Rockbridge on Wednesday, but that'll only make us better.
In the Novinger Tournament semifinals tonight, Scotland County trying to pull off the upset of La Plata, and that, my friends, is Brock Bondurant feeding Andrew Mathis with a nice bucket and the 3-point play. Then Harley Stone from the outside knocking down a triple the traditional way. More Harley Stone this way and that way and every which way tonight. Look at him playing a little defense at the other end with a nice block right here on Peyton Swift. Great effort tonight from Scotland County, not nearly enough, though, to beat La Plata, so Scotland County will be relegated to the 3rd place game, despite Brock Bondurant's heroics. Final on this one sees Scotland County lose 62-42. On the scoreboard, better news on the girls' side tonight. Congratulations to the Unity 7th graders who are headed off to state at Leroy. They knock off South Fulton at home tonight to improve to 25-0 on the season. 33-23 was your final. High school girls action going on tonight. Mercer County treks to Scioto and beats West Prairie 57-43. Back at Novinger, the Scotland County girls taking on Bevere, trying to book passage to the championship game at Novinger. Callie Holt with a nice bucket early on in this one. More to come, this time from the wing. It's Megan Creek hitting and connecting and making good on her shot. Chris Jackson also with some nice defense tonight. Great block at the other end. Scotland County in a nice roll tonight. More to come right here from Megan Creek. She's knocking down the long-range 3, and Scotland County never looks back in this game, winning 41-36. Scotland County off to the championship game coming up this weekend. Some college scores to pass along. The news not good for Western Illinois. If you wanted a rubric on how much rebuilding has to take place with the Leathernecks for J.D. Gravina and company, it's a lot. South Dakota State, the defending conference champion, comes to Macomb and wins 82-56 tonight. Also, Culver Stockton wins its 7th game of the season already. They haven't won 7 games since 2006. Great win tonight, 82-62 over AIB Business College. And Southeastern Community College, now 10-0 on the season, now ranked 9th in the country, thanks to a 68-63 win there. So Jerry Jerome has them going up in Southeast Iowa tonight with Southeastern Community College.